Welcome to the video from Chapter 3, Angles. This is on Lesson 3, Angle Addition Postulate. By the end of this lesson, we should be able to answer the question, how do we use algebra skills to find the measures of angles? Well, let's first figure out what the angle addition postulate is. The angle addition postulate says that for any angle PQR, keeping in mind that when it says any angle PQR, the P, Q, and R are not specific. They can be any three letters used to name the angle. So we have any angle PQR, and there's a point A, or any point, again, does not have to be the letter A, that is on the interior of the angle. So we talked about interior, exterior, and on in the last lesson. So this is now angle PQR, and then that's A on the interior. When that happens, the angle that's created from PQA plus the measure of the angle that's created from AQR, when you add those two angles together, you get the measure of PQR. So again, these are measures of the degree inside each of these angles. When you add this one to this one, you get the whole angle, and that's the angle addition postulate. Another way to say it is we have the measure of angle 1, and so we can say it this way simply because there is a 1 there, plus the measure of angle 2 in there is going to equal the measure of PQR. So PQA is angle 1, AQR is angle 2. Again, you're adding those two together and you get the measure of PQR. So looking at this example, it says to find the measure, so our answer is going to be in degrees, find the measure of angle KNM, so KNM, if the measure of angle LNM is 25. So LNM is here, LNM, and so that's telling me that that is 25 degrees. And then it says that KNL, that measure is 110 degrees. So the first thing you're going to have to do is take the information that's there and make sure you're understanding where it actually belongs in the picture, being careful with the letters. Again, we are asked to find a measure of an angle, so our answer is going to be in degrees. The angle addition postulate tells me that I can simply add these two measures together to get my answer of 135 degrees for the measure of angle KNM. So in completing this problem, it says finding the measure of an angle, so our answer is going to be in degrees, find the measure of angle ABD. So in this case, we're not interested in the whole thing, we're only interested in one piece of this angle here. So we're trying to find this measure if measure of DBC is 75. So this side over here, DBC, this angle is 75 degrees. And then it says measure of angle ABC, so that's the whole thing, ABC is 140. So from here to here, the whole thing is 140 degrees. So technically, we're trying to find this missing degree in here. Now we could set up an equation using the angle addition postulate, x plus 75 equals 140. You could also maybe just in your head you knew that you're just supposed to do 140 minus 75. That's fine. That is what we end up doing over here when we solve the equation for x using inverse operations. Either way, we're getting that same answer of 65. So the measure of angle ABD is equal to 65 degrees. So in this particular example, I already have the diagram labeled for us, but let's go ahead and read through it. We're supposed to find the measure of MKL. Well, the measure of angle MKL is right here in yellow, MKL. But then it does tell us that that there's an expression that equals that measure, which is 2x plus 10. So I don't know what it is for the exact degree, but I do have an expression that's representing that. So I'm labeling that as such. Then it says the measure of LKJ is equal to 4x. So LKJ here in green is 4x. And then it says angle JKM is equal to 140 degrees. So this whole thing is 140 degrees. So maybe if you're not comfortable with the 140 down here, you can put it out here somewhere that from J to M is 140 degrees this way on that interior. So we're going to need to set up an equation using the angle addition postulate that 2x plus 10 plus 4x equals 140, and we'll solve that. Notice that this particular answer did not divide evenly. I did not round my decimal because my answer actually needs to be finding the measure of an angle. So this is not my final answer, and I don't want to mess up by rounding. I want to get a more accurate answer. So I'm going to go ahead and plug in this 21 2/3 into the 2x plus 10 and simplify that using my calculator to get the actual measure of angle MKL to be 53 1/3 degrees. We're going to go ahead and skip this problem. Nothing about it works out with an easy fix, so we're just going to skip this and move on to angle bisectors. So an angle bisector is a ray that bisects an angle. Well, what does it mean to bisect? Bisecting an angle is just like the midpoints of a segment. Bisect splits the whole angle into two equal smaller angles. So notice that the equal word is in capital letters because there is emphasis that they are equal parts. So in this problem, I want you to pay attention to the wording. It says in the figure, ray FD bisects angle CFE. And then we're going to find some different things based on some other given information. But it's very important that you realize it says in the figure, like you're given in this case that ray FD bisects. So FD is here, that's bisecting. That means that this angle 1 is congruent to this angle 2. And we use the arches and the tick marks to indicate that something is congruent as far as angles, that they're equal measure. Your other option for the notation on an image would be maybe like 1 or possibly 2 arches if they're like however many. So instead of the tick marks, they'll just put more and more arches to indicate which angles might be the same measure. So just something to consider as you go through and start to label your diagrams. So for this particular problem, measure of angle 1 and measure of angle 2 is what we're trying to find if CFE were to equal 70. So we're trying to find the measure of angle 1, trying to find the measure of angle 2, knowing that CFE, the whole angle, is 70 degrees. So in order to figure this out, I label them with X's because they are the missing thing that we are trying to find, but they are the same value because it is a bisector, so they are the same measure. The whole thing is 70. So angle addition postulate says that if I add those two smaller angles, it equals the bigger angle. So 2x equals 70, x equals 35. In this case, I can label it with degrees because the x actually represents the measure of that missing angle. So measure of angle 1 and measure of angle 2 are 35 degrees each. This problem, now in part B, same setup. FD is still the bisector, but now it says we're finding the measure of CFE. We're trying to find that whole measure, knowing that measure of angle 2 is 40 degrees. Well, since it's a bisector, angle 2 and angle 1 are the same, so angle 1 is also 40 degrees, which means we can just add them together based on the angle addition postulate to say that the answer is 80 degrees. The measure of CFE is 80 degrees. Last one for this particular setup. Again, the FD is bisecting, so these two angles are congruent. We're supposed to find the measure of angle 1, knowing that the measure of angle 2 is 37 degrees. Well, they're the same measure, so the measure of angle 1 is equal to the measure of angle 2, so the measure of angle 1 equals 37 degrees. That's how bisecting angles work. They split it equally in half. All right, so this final example has quite a few things going on, but we're going to do one thing at a time. It says that UG bisects MUD. So this ray, should be a ray there, bisects MUD. So that means that UG splits this into two equal angles. So I have the tick marks or the arches there to represent that. It says YUM is 70 degrees, so I'm going to label that. And YUD, this whole thing, is 162 degrees. Finding GUY. So we're trying to figure out GUY. Okay, so I know that one piece of it is 70, but I need to know what this is over here. Luckily, because it's a bisector, these can be the same variable because they equal the same measure. So what I can do is I can make 70 plus x equals 162, and that's using the angle addition postulate. These three angles put together equal this total 162 degrees, and we can solve for x as a first step. So now I know that the measures of these angles are each 46 degrees. So if I want angle GUY, all I have to do is add 70 plus 46 to get the measure of angle GUY equals 116 degrees. So this concludes the video lesson for lesson 3 from chapter 3. And the answer to using our algebra skills to find measures of angles is to write an equation where the sum of the smaller angles will equal the larger one using the angle addition postulate. Thanks for watching.